It was raining. Damn it, it was raining buckets. It felt like God himself was crying over my own stupidity, or maybe just spitting with contempt on this old body of mine. The door of the brand new SUV opened. That was the truck I paid the down payment for myself just last year for that ungrateful son of mine. It opened with brutal violence. The freezing wind rushed in, instantly chilling me to the bone. I did not even have time to react or button up my old worn-out wool sweater when Michael grabbed my arm tightly. It was not the gentle, protective grip of a respectful son. No, not at all. It was like someone grabbing a bulky trash bag from the back seat to toss it into the dumpster without a second thought. "Get out right now, old man. I do not have all day." His voice sounded irritated and harsh, drowning out even the incessant drumming of rain on the metal roof of this godforsaken place. I stumbled out, stepping right into a puddle of dirty, murky water. The freezing water seeped through my leather shoes with their worn-out soles, sending a shiver down my spine. In front of me stood a rusted iron gate with peeling paint and sores of rust. Above it hung a wooden sign almost erased by time. Forgotten Pines Nursing Home. What an ironically cruel name. I turned to look inside the car. Sarah, my youngest daughter. That girl I once called my little princess. The little one I used to carry on my shoulders at the county fair, just to buy her cotton candy. She was sitting in the passenger seat. She did not even dignify me with a look. She was busy with her eyes glued to her phone screen, scrolling frantically with her thumb as if her own father's existence was less important than a damn like on Instagram. "Sarah," I called out with a trembling voice. I did not know if it was from the cold soaking me or the fear invading me. "Daughter." She rolled down the window just a crack, just enough to shove a stack of papers and a pen through the slit. The smell of expensive, exclusive perfume drifted out of the car, contrasting brutally with the smell of wet earth and my own scent of old age. "Oh, shut up already," she hissed with venom without taking her eyes off the phone. "That house is a gold mine, and you are just in the way. Sign here and go die in peace." I stood frozen, petrified. The raindrops hit my face with a stinging burn. "Children, please." I tried to swallow the giant lump in my throat. "That is my house. I built it with your mother. Brick by brick, every bag of cement. Your mother loved those rose bushes with all her soul." "Mom is dead," Michael shouted, shoving the pen violently into my hand. "And you are going to follow her soon. Sign it. We need to sell it to invest. Why does a senile old man like you want a huge house in the suburbs? Anyway, to raise cockroaches, invest, you bastards. Invest in what? Luxury trips to Miami or parties where the champagne flows?" I looked at the paper. Irrevocable power of attorney. The letters danced mockingly before my eyes. My hands. Those broad hands calloused from 40 years of holding a trowel and shovel now trembled so much they could barely hold the pen. All my life I sweated blood. I mixed concrete under the scorching sun so they could sit in air conditioning, so they could go to private schools, so they could become engineers and doctors. And now at the end they use that same education and those words to trick me into signing away my own home. Sign it fast. The rain is getting my leather seats wet. Michael growled, giving me a shove on the shoulder. It was not a hard shove, but it was enough to shatter the last trace of dignity I had left into 1,000 pieces. I rested the paper on the wet hood of the car. My tears fell mixing with the blue ink of the pen. I signed, a scribbled, twisted, and deformed signature just like my own life in that precise instant. Michael snatched the paper from my hands roughly. "Let us go, Sarah." The window rolled up. The engine roared with power. The car shot off, splashing mud on my pants up to my knees. I stood there alone with a black plastic bag containing some old clothes in one hand and holding on to the cold bars with the other. The gate of Forgotten Pines opened slowly with a sharp, piercing screech like a mocking laugh from destiny. An elderly nun with a sour face and a bitter expression poked her head out. "Mr. Robert, come in, and wipe your feet. I do not want mud in the hallway." I walked in. Behind my back, the sound of the lock was dry, metallic, and definitive. It was over. The free life of Robert ended here. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel William's Revenge Stories and tell us where you are listening from in the comments below. Inside the nursing home, there was a very particular smell, dense and heavy. It was not the comforting aroma of freshly baked biscuits or stew that my wife used to make, nor was it the smell of cement dust and work that I liked so much. It was the smell of cheap disinfectant mixed with rancid urine and the unmistakable stench of despair. People call this a home, but I call it the waiting room for hell. They practically dragged me down a long, dark, endless hallway with walls painted a sickly yellow, stained with dampness and mold. Dry coughs, moans of pain, and senseless babbling drifted from the half-open rooms on the sides. "This is your bed number 42. The young nurse, with a face full of layers of makeup, pointed reluctantly at a metal bed with peeling paint in a shadowy corner. The mattress was thin, full of lumps, like a pothole-filled street. "Excuse me, miss." I hesitated, hugging my bag of clothes to my chest like a shield. "My children, did they say anything about my diet? I have severe gastritis." She glanced at the folder under her arm with boredom and smiled with a disdain that chilled my blood. "Mr. Robert, stop dreaming. Your children chose the basic inferior package. That means beans, cold rice, and tap water. No special menu, no television, no physical therapy." My heart shrank in my chest. The lowest package. My house is worth at least $2 million. They sold it and are going to split a fortune. And it hurt them to spend a few $100s so their father could eat decently in his final days. But if you want dessert or an extra blanket, ask them for more money, if they ever come back. She turned around and left, her heels clicking on the cold tile floor, leaving me completely alone in that gloomy room. I sat on the edge of the bed. The springs creaked loudly, protesting my weight. I looked at my hands. Those big, rough hands full of scars where bricks cut the skin and with knuckles swollen and deformed by arthritis. My God, where did I go wrong? I remembered the days and years working from sunup to sundown, from 5 in the morning to 8 at night without rest. I remembered lunches of just hard bread and water to save every penny to buy Michael those Nike sneakers for soccer or that expensive doll dress for Sarah. I built skyscrapers for strangers, mansions for the rich of the city, and in the end, I do not even have a roof of my own to die under. My roommate, a skeletal old man lying in the bed opposite, moved. He had no legs and stared at me with eyes clouded by cataracts. "Welcome to purgatory, friend," he whispered with a hoarse, wheezing voice. "Do not expect anything. Here hope kills faster than disease." "No," I answered. I lay down, curling up inside my damp jacket, staring at the peeling wall. That night, for the first time in my entire life as a man, I cried. I cried without making a sound, with tears running inward, salty hot and bitter. They say when you get old, you live more in memories than in the present. In this prison of gray walls, I have nothing but time to chew on and ruminate over my past. And the more I remember, the stupider I feel. That house, oh, my house, was a beautiful colonial-style estate located in the heart of the suburbs. Thick walls, high-beam ceilings, oak floors, and a huge garden that Helen, my wife, tended with as much love as if it were another child. I remember a Sunday afternoon 10 years ago. Helen was still alive. We were sitting on the porch drinking coffee. The kids, already grown, stood there asking for money, like always. "Dad, I need to change my car. The old one bores me. My friends all drive Audis, and I am embarrassed," Michael said with a face of total entitlement. "Mom, I want to go to Europe this summer with my friends. Can you give me $5,000? Sarah pouted like a spoiled child. I should have grabbed my belt right then and there and taught them a good lesson. I should have told them, "Get to work, you lazy bums. If you want luxuries, earn them with the sweat of your own brow, not mine." But I did not. Helen took my hand with that look of hers, so tender, soft, and pleading. "Give them what they ask, Robert. I do not want them to suffer lack like we did." My Helen, a saint of a woman, but blinded by maternal love. She remembered too well when we slept under the stairs and ate instant noodles as newlyweds, and she wanted to compensate the children for that poverty they never even lived. She wanted them to live like princes and princesses, and I, a weak man for loving his wife so much, nodded like a fool. I took out my wallet. I wrote checks. I sold the land I had in the country to buy Michael's car. I sold my mother's antique jewelry to pay for Sarah's trip. And that was my mistake, Helen. I whispered to nothing in the darkness of the nursing home room. I gave them everything. I gave them the fishing rod, but with the fish already caught and cooked. I took away their fundamental right to be hungry, the right to feel shame when reaching out a hand. Without realizing it, I raised two greedy monsters in my own house. Now Helen is gone, and my only shield, my only defense has gone with her. Without Helen in their eyes, I am just a senile old man clinging to the inheritance they covet with rage. Damn it! I wish I had been tougher. I wish I had taught them to hold a trowel and mix cement before teaching them to spend money by the handful. Maybe now I would be sitting by the fireplace, playing with my grandkids, and not counting the cracks in the ceiling in this hole. 3 months. 90 eternal and painful days have passed. Every morning I drag myself with difficulty to the reception, where there is an old landline phone for residents. I dial Michael's number with trembling hands. The number you dialed is not available or is out of service. I call Sarah. This number has blocked incoming calls. They blocked me. My own children, my own blood blocked me. You have got to be kidding me. They threw me in here like an old dog at the pound and cut all contacts so they could have free hands to enjoy the loot in peace. The only thing connecting me to the outside world is Frank, an old friend and buddy from the construction crew I worked with years ago. Frank is the only human being who remembers that Robert still exists. Every Sunday, he travels 2 hours on a crowded bus to bring me some greasy cheeseburgers and a Coke smuggled in because the damn nurse forbids it. But the news Frank brings is more bitter than pure poison. Robert. Frank hesitated last time, playing nervously with his cap full of lime dust. Yesterday I passed by your house. What happened? I asked anxiously. How is the guava tree? Did Helen's roses bloom? My eyes shined with a little naive hope. Frank looked down at the ground and sighed deeply with sadness. They ripped everything out, buddy. The roses, the guava tree, even the swing you made with your own hands for the grandkids. They bulldozed it all. I saw workers with machinery digging a huge hole in the middle of the yard. What for? My voice broke, feeling an internal cold. They are putting in a pool, and rumors say Michael bought a convertible sports car. The neighbors say there are parties, daily loud music booming until 3 in the morning. I felt like someone squeezed my heart with an iron hand. Those roses. Right there beneath them, I spread Helen's ashes. I told them 1,000 times. I begged them. Sell the house if you want. But for the love of God, do not touch your mother's garden. They nodded their heads, and now they dig up their own mother to put in a stupid, soulless swimming pool. Damn them. I clenched my fist so hard I dug my nails into my palm until I bled. Calm down, Robert. Frank consoled me, patting my shoulder. There is another thing. Rumor in the neighborhood is that they already spent all the down payment money on trips to Europe and luxuries. Now they are asking for mortgages on the house itself to remodel it, and according to them, sell it for more. I let out a bitter, twisted, and painful laugh. Imbeciles. They are ignorant, Frank. The real estate market is stalled. It is dead. They are digging their own financial grave. But even though I acted tough in front of Frank, my soul hurt. The house, the legacy of my entire life of effort, was being destroyed and violated, and I, the true owner, locked up here watching helplessly as vultures eat my living flesh. The silence of the phone does not scare me as much as the noise of destruction rumbling in my head. I swear to God, if I ever get out of here, they will not hear the end of it. Today is my 71st birthday. I did not expect a party or cake or a mariachi band, but I, a stupid, sentimental old man, still held a small, almost invisible hope that maybe, just maybe, their conscience would wake up. A cheap postcard, or at least paying the monthly fee for the nursing home so the bitter nun would not look at me with hate every time I walked by. At noon, the nursing home speaker squawked my name. "Mr. Robert, you have a package at reception." My heart beat fast, hitting my ribs. Brown wrapping paper, no bow, no card. I opened it, trembling. It smelled of dampness and confinement. It was my old clothes, the shirts with worn collars, the work pants stained with dry concrete that I left forgotten in the closet. They took out all my things. They erased my trace from the house. Under the clothes was a paper. I took it with clumsy fingers, expecting a letter, an explanation, a greeting. But no, it was an overdue invoice from the nursing home, and a yellow sticky note with Michael's scribbled handwriting. "Pay it yourself. We are short on cash. We cannot keep paying for you anymore. Sell these old rags and pay the debt." My vision went dark. I felt the floor open under my feet, swallowing me. Just at that moment, the director of the home, a fat, sweaty guy with a sharp, pretentious mustache, came out of his office. He looked at me like someone looking at a trash bag that needs to be taken out to the street urgently. "I am sorry, Mr. Robert. I just spoke on the phone with your son. He said literally that it is not his problem anymore. The contract expired 3 days ago. Rules are rules, and business is business." "What is he going to do?" Frank claimed indignantly. "He is 71 years old. Where is he going to go? He has 24 hours to get his junk and get the hell out of here." The director turned his back on me coldly. "We are not a public charity. If he is still here tomorrow, I am calling the police and having him removed for trespassing on private property." I stood paralyzed, dead inside, clutching my old torn shirt. "You are going to throw me on the street. I am 71 years old, damn it!" I screamed with a broken voice full of panic. But nobody cared. The other old people lowered their heads, fearing retaliation or catching my misfortune. The director slammed his office door. I had hit rock bottom, betrayed by my blood stripped of everything, and now about to be thrown to the curb like a mangy, sick dog. Anger exploded inside me, hot as lava, burning any trace of weakness or sadness. I turned to Frank with dry, arid eyes, without a single tear left to shed. "Frank, help me pack." "Where are you going?" Frank worried, his eyes full of pity. "Come to my house for a while. It is not much, but—" "No," I shook my head, clutching the old jacket in my hand. I felt a stiff paper in the inside left pocket, that hidden pocket Michael forgot to check in his rush. "I have to check something first. It was the lottery ticket. The one I bought the day of Helen's death anniversary 6 months ago. I put it in this coat and forgot it, completely drowned in my sadness. An old habit of mine, a hope so fragile and distant it was laughable. Let us go, Frank. Get me out of this hell. If God still has eyes and looks down, this card game is not over yet." I walked out of the nursing home with my back straighter than it had been in years. The pain had passed. Now only hate remained. And hate sometimes is the best vitamin and the most potent fuel for an old man. I sat in Frank's '98 Ford truck, which sounded as rattled and sleepy as my false teeth when it is cold. We stopped in front of a small newsstand on the corner of Revolution Avenue. It was not raining anymore, but the air was humid, heavy, and tinged with that characteristic gray of city smog. "Are you sure?" Robert Frank asked, looking nervously in the rearview mirror as if the police were chasing us for escaping. "Do you not want to go home first to eat some hot beans to calm your stomach?" "No, Frank. I have to know. I have to know now," I said with a hoarse, determined voice. I got out of the truck, clutching the paper in my pocket, as if it were my life. It was crumpled with remains of dry lime from the jacket, and surely impregnated with my own sweat of fear from the last 6 months. The lottery seller was a middle-aged guy, fat and round, who was biting enthusiastically into a ham sandwich. He looked me up and down, judging my pitiful appearance and broken shoes with mistrust. "What do you want?" Boss, I do not have coins to give away. The guy made a motion to shoo me away with his hand. I took out the ticket and laid it flat on the dirty glass counter full of fingerprints. I am not asking for charity. Check this for me. It is from the Christmas lottery last year. The guy widened his eyes exaggeratedly and let out a mocking laugh. Oh, Grandpa, that was a hell of a long time ago. People use those papers to wrap fish or clean windows by now. Check it. I hit the table with my open palm. My look at that moment must have been fierce terrible, just like when I was a foreman scolding the bricklayers for pouring a foundation wrong. The guy grumbled a curse between his teeth. He took the ticket, reluctantly wiping the grease from his fingers on his pants, and typed the numbers into his old terminal machine. Beep, beep. A red line blinked on the digital screen. The seller stopped chewing. The bite of sandwich got stuck in his throat. He rubbed his eyes, looked at the screen, incredulous. He looked at me and then looked back at the crumpled ticket. Hey, sir. His voice trembled and his arrogance disappeared in a second. Are you seeing this right? My heart stopped dead. My throat felt like sandpaper. I am not playing. What is happening? Did I win enough for a coffee or enough to buy a cheap coffin? The seller swallowed with difficulty, pale as paper. Coffee, sir. Are you kidding me? It is the Christmas grand prize that nobody had claimed. It expires tomorrow. He leaned toward me and whispered as if fearing the wind would hear him. It is $5 million. $5 million. The figure exploded in my head like fireworks on New Year's Eve. $5 million. Enough to buy 10 houses like the one I lost. Enough to bury my ungrateful son's lineage and his descendants in money. I did not scream. I did not jump for joy. Old men do not do that. I only felt a cold electric current run down my back and my legs turned to jelly. I grabbed the edge of the counter so I would not fall to my knees. Blessed be God, I whispered, and tears sprang hot from my eyes. They were not tears of joy. They were tears of absolute liberation. God had not abandoned me. Helen from heaven had not abandoned me. I snatched the ticket from the guys, hand folded it, and put it in the deepest pocket, right against my skin. Frank, I called with a potent voice, resonant like a bronze bell. Start the engine. Frank stuck his head out the window, scared. Where are we going? To the bank. And then to see a lawyer. A very good one. I got into the truck and closed the door with a dry slam. Boom. Robert, the old man discarded and humiliated in the nursing home, died at that lottery stand. Now sitting in this old truck was another man, an old wolf who had just grown new sharp fangs. 2 weeks later, I am standing in front of the full-length mirror in the luxurious penthouse apartment I rented temporarily in the exclusive downtown area. In the reflection, the disheveled, dirty, pathetic old man from a few days ago is gone. My hair has been cut and styled. That grisly, unkempt beard has been shaved clean. I am wearing a custom-made suit with Italian fabric. Silk so soft that in my whole life as a laborer I never dared to touch. My old false teeth that clicked when I spoke have been replaced by a full set of white, brilliant ceramic implants that cost a fortune, but are worth every damn penny. You look good, Mr. Robert. Lawyer Miller, a childhood friend, and the only one I trust to manage the anonymous collection of the prize, is sitting on the genuine leather sofa drinking an 18-year-old whiskey. Money is the best makeup for old age Miller. I adjust my tie knot with a cynical half smile, but inside, I am still the same bricklayer as always. The $5 million are safe and distributed in offshore accounts. Taxes are paid. Everything is legal. Miller leaves the folder on the glass table. And now what is next? Do you want me to tell your children you could sue them for elderly abandonment, or simply rub the money in their faces so they die of regret? I turn around and look through the floor-to-ceiling window from where the whole city shines with its millions of lights. Somewhere down there, among that concrete jungle, are my children living their borrowed lives. No. My voice is cold as ice. Why sue? They will cry. They will ask for forgiveness with crocodile tears, and then they will wait patiently for me to die to split the money again. I do not need their apologies, Miller. I need their submission. So what do you plan to do? Money does not educate. Hunger does. I take a deep drag of my cigar and let the smoke out slowly. I want you to hire a private detective. I want him to follow every step Michael and Sarah take. I want to know what they eat, who they sleep with, how much they owe, and to whom. I turn to him with determination. And most importantly, I want to know the exact moment they start to drown. Miller shuddered, seeing my expression, but nodded with respect. All right, but I heard rumors that they are already up to their necks. The bank denied the loan to remodel the house because they have terrible credit history. Good. I smiled, and it was a smile I never had before. The smile of a predator smelling blood. Let them kick a little longer. When the water reaches their nose and they are swallowing it, that is when I will appear. But not as a lifesaver, but as the heavy stone that sinks them to the bottom. I spent the next few days dedicating myself to myself. I went for full medical checkups. I got stem cells injected to relieve back pain. I ate the most nutritious foods. I have to be strong. I have to live a long time to see with my own eyes how the natural order of things is restored. Every night before sleeping, I look at the photo of Helen I put on the nightstand. Do not be mad at me, my love, I whisper to the photo. I am going to re-educate our children. The lesson is going to hurt. It is going to hurt a lot, but it is necessary. 6 months have passed since the day I won the lottery. I am sitting in my private office reading the detailed report the detective just sent me. It is more entertaining and dramatic than any primetime soap opera. Michael and Sarah, my children. Geniuses, my failed prides, crumbled much faster than I imagined. Michael with that typical arrogance of someone who has never had to earn a real dollar, with his hands spent all the down payment money from the house sale money. The buyer canceled and demanded back, causing a lawsuit. He spent it on that ridiculous sports car and parties where he closed down entire bars for his friends. When the liquid cash ran out, he turned to loans. And not banks, but loan sharks. Interest upon interest. A deadly snowball. Last week the tow truck took his precious sports car, and Sarah, my little princess, burned the credit cards until they smoked buying brand bags to keep up appearances with her group of rich friends. But the moment the cards were declined, those intimate friends vanished like fog at dawn. The report says, literally. Day, October 15th. Michael and Sarah were evicted from their luxury rented apartment for owing 3 months' rent. Currently, they are staying at a cheap, dirty motel on the outskirts of the city. Day, October 20th. The bank has officially foreclosed on the family house to execute the mortgage. The public auction order will be issued next week. I watched the video the detective recorded secretly. Michael and Sarah are fighting, screaming on the sidewalk in front of the motel. You are an idiot, Michael. Sarah screams with messy hair, no makeup having lost all trace of her usual glamour. I told you not to buy that damn car. And now what? Are we going to live on the street like homeless people? Shut up. Michael bellows, his face red with fury and shame. And what about you? You spent it all on garbage Gucci bags. Dad is gone. The house is lost. Do you think I wanted this to happen? Dad, Sarah stops abruptly and her voice breaks. If only Dad were here. At least he would not let us go hungry. The old man died rotting in the nursing home, Michael shouted with rage. Or he is wandering around begging for change somewhere. Do not even mention him. Michael kicks the brick wall hard, then rubs his foot in pain. Watching that scene through the iPad screen, I take a sip of hot tea. My heart does not feel the pleasure of revenge like I thought. It hurts. My heart hurts. Seeing your own kids like that, miserable, dirty, insulting each other, like street people. What father can stand that without breaking, but I hold on and harden my will. If I run to save them now, they will go back to the same path as always. A malignant tumor has to be cut out at the root, and all the pus drained, no matter how painful the process is. It is not enough, I tell Miller on the phone with a firm voice. They do not know real fear yet. They have to taste the bitter flavor of absolute despair a little longer. The house is auctioned on Tuesday. Miller reminds me. Are you going to participate? Yes. My eyes shine with anticipation. Buy it all. The house. And also buy all their debts. The day of the auction arrived. I do not show up personally. I authorize Miller to represent a shell company I created with a name full of irony. Justice Investments. With the financial power I have now getting back, the old house was as easy as going to the market to buy a loaf of bread. No one could match or even get close to the offer I put on the table. The house in the suburbs. The place that holds the history of my entire life has officially returned to its original owner. But this time the deed is in the name of the company, and I am the only president and shareholder. But my plan is more cruel and calculated. I ordered Miller to contact every lender, loan shark, and bank that Michael and Sarah owed money to. I offered to buy the entirety of that toxic debt, paying the original principal. The creditors accepted, happily delighted to get rid of delinquent, uncollectible debtors. In a matter of 48 hours, I became the sole owner of my children's debts. The total comes to $250,000, an astronomical figure that with their current capacity and zero skills, they could not pay working 2 lives in a row. Ready, boss. Miller places the thick folder on my mahogany desk. Legally, your children belong to you. You have the upper hand. If you wanted, you could put them in jail for financial fraud tomorrow. I run my hand over the folder. These are the chains, but they are also the reins I need to tame the wild beasts in them. Good. It is time for the show to begin. What are you going to do? Miller asks. Send people to find them. Tell them the new owner of the old house wants to see them in person to negotiate the debt. Do not tell them it is me. Tell them it is a brutal investor, a dangerous mobster, whatever is necessary. So they wet their pants with fear. And where do I take them? Home. I stand up and walk to the window, looking in the direction of the old neighborhood. Take them to the house. I will be waiting for them there. The time has come to give them their first preschool lesson on the value of money. I feel the adrenaline run through my veins like fire. I am no longer the kind, submissive Robert. I am no longer the father who lowers his head. I am the Godfather. I am the supreme judge, and I am the executioner of my own family. Get ready, kids. 2 huge security gorillas escorted Michael and Sarah back to the old house. I had already ordered the place cleaned up a bit, but the scars of the destruction they caused were still visible. The hole for the half-dug pool in the middle of the yard, right where my beloved rose bushes were, and the battered, abused walls. I sat in an imposing red velvet armchair, placed right in the center of the empty living room. I was wearing my impeccable black suit, shiny patent leather shoes, holding a glass of red wine in my hand, and most importantly, I was facing away from the entrance door. The smoke from my cigar floated in the air, creating a dense, heavy, and theatrical atmosphere. The door opened. I heard their timid steps dragged by fear. Sorry, sir. Michael's voice trembled pathetically. He sounded like he was about to burst into tears. They brought us here. Are you the new creditor? Please do not hurt us. Do not kill us, Sarah sobbed. We will pay. We swear. Just give us a little time. I kept silent, a long, calculated silence that became suffocating. I drank a slow sip of wine, letting the rough taste fill my mouth. I remembered that day of rain and wind when they kicked me out of the car. Does the trembling of their bodies now compare to the cold I felt in my bones that day? Surely not yet. Do you know this house? I asked finally, forcing my voice to sound deeper and raspy, unrecognizable. Yes, Michael stammered. It was my parents' house. We lost it. You did not lose it. I turned the armchair slowly, very slowly, until I was face to face with them. You gave it away. You sold cheap even your own souls. The instant their eyes met, my face, time seemed to stop. Michael's eyes popped out of his sockets like a snail's. Sarah opened her mouth in a silent scream. She covered her face with her hands, and her face lost all color, turning pale as a corpse. They stood petrified, as if they had seen a ghost appear in broad daylight. Dad, Michael whispered, unable to believe what he saw. My God, Sarah screamed and fell to her knees on the floor, defeated. Dad, what are you doing here? Run. The owner is here. He is dangerous. He is going to kill you, too. I let out a laugh, a dry, cold, metallic laugh that bounced off the empty walls of the living room. Imbeciles! I jumped up and smashed the wineglass against the floor with violence, shattering it. The red wine stained the floor like blood. I am the owner, I am the creditor, and you are standing on my land. Michael stumbled back until he hit the wall. It cannot be, Dad. Where did you get money if we left you in the nursing home? Did you win the lottery? Sarah raised her head abruptly, and in her eyes the fear instantly transformed into a gleam of greedy hope, her true nature floating to the surface. Dad, I knew it. I knew you had money hidden. Oh, Daddy! She lunged toward me with open arms to hug me. I shouted at her, with a voice of thunder, pointing my index finger like a weapon. Sarah stopped dead, terrified before an authority, and fury she had never seen in her weak elderly father. Do not even think about touching me with those dirty hands. I looked at both of them with fire in my eyes. I bought this house. I bought each and every one of your promissory notes, from the sports car, the maxed out credit cards to the debts with loan sharks. In total, it is $250,000. I walked closer to them, step by step, my shoes hitting the wooden floor, click, click, sounding like a judge's gavel passing a sentence. From now on, you are no longer my children, you are my debtors. Dad, what are you saying? Michael stammered, sweating cold. We are your blood, your children. Forgive us. You are rich now. You have lots of money. I am rich, yes, but you are poor, and most importantly, you are poor in spirit and dignity. I took 2 uniforms I had prepared from my pocket, an old worn-out gardener's overall, and a cheap gray cleaning uniform. I threw them with contempt at their feet. No one is going to live for free here, I declared with a voice of steel. You have 2 options. One, I call the police right now and put you in jail for fraud, breach of trust, and tax evasion. I have enough documented evidence for you to rot in a cell for years. The 2 trembled like leaves in a storm, their faces twisted by terror. 2, I pointed to the clothes thrown on the floor. Put those on. You are going to work for me. Michael, you will be the gardener. You are going to fix and rebuild the yard that you yourself destroyed. Sarah, you will be the maid. You are going to scrub and disinfect every toilet in this mansion. Your salary will be hourly and deducted from your debt. And I am warning you, the interest I charge is not cheap. You are crazy. I am an engineer, Michael shouted with his pride wounded to death. You are an unemployed, failed engineer, indebted up to your neck. I roared, crushing his protest. And I am the one with the deed and the power. Choose right now. Jail or the pick and shovel, I give you 10 seconds. I looked at my gold watch. 1, 2. Michael looked at Sarah, desperate. Sarah looked at Michael with panic. They looked toward the door where the 2 security guerrillas stood, arms crossed, blocking the exit. They looked toward the window where black clouds announced another storm. They had no escape. The outside world had already spit them out. They only had this place, and this cruel father standing in front of them. Michael bent down slowly, defeated, and picked up the gardener's uniform with trembling hands. Sarah broke down, crying bitterly. But she also bent down and picked up the cleaning uniform. Good. I lit my cigar again and blew the smoke in their faces. Get changed. The septic tank is clogged, and it stinks. And Michael, I want to see that patio level and clean before the sun goes down. Move. I watched them walk away, heads down toward the dressing room, dragging their feet. For the first time in my life, I saw their backs bent under real weight. It was the weight of life. That weight I carried for them for too long so they would not suffer. Now it is their turn to carry their own cross. Welcome home, my children. Boot camp has just begun. The first night in the new house, or rather the old house with the new order, was not quiet at all. I did not allow them to sleep in their old rooms. Michael's room, where soccer posters used to hang, and where he had his expensive video game console, was now locked. Sarah's room, that pastel pink princess castle, was also sealed. "Where are we going to sleep?" Sarah asked, hugging her cleaning uniform with eyes swollen from crying so much. I pointed to the stairs leading to the basement, the place my wife and I once designated for help, although in reality we never hired anyone. Helen always did everything. "Down there. There are 2 folding cots. The sheets are in the closet. Make them yourselves." "But it is freezing down there and smells damp," Michael complained. "Oh, yeah." I raised an eyebrow with sarcasm. "Is it colder than room 42 at the Forgotten Pines nursing home there?" "I did not even have a window, son." Michael fell silent and lowered his head. He knew he had no right to bargain. That dinner I sat alone at the head of the large table, enjoying an American beefsteak soft as butter and a glass of red wine. My 2 children sat at the kitchen table, the servants' table, their menu pot beans and some cold bread. I heard Sarah murmur, "This is crap. I cannot swallow this." I put down my silverware and walked into the kitchen. "If you do not eat, you starve. Tomorrow, you get up at 5. Michael, you have to clear all the rubble from the yard. Sarah, I want the entire ground floor clean. If I see a speck of dust or a dry leaf unswept, I will dock your pay for the day." Sir," Michael hesitated. "How much is the salary?" "Minimum wage for the area," I said clearly. "Minus food and utilities you use, the rest goes to the $250,000 debt." Michael did mental calculations and turned pale. At that rate, he would have to work about 80 years to pay the debt. "It is slavery," he protested weakly. "No, it is reality, son." I gave him a heavy pat on the shoulder. "This is how most people live to maintain the luxuries you had before. Now eat. Beans are good for muscle. Tomorrow you are going to need a lot of muscle." I turned around and went up to my master bedroom. Warm. That night, lying in my wide bed, I heard the wind whistle outside. I could not sleep. I wondered if I was being too cruel. But then I remembered their cold stares when they kicked me out of the car in the rain. No. Hell no. Bitter remedies are the ones that cure. I have to crush their ego to rebuild their character. 5 in the morning. The alarm of the old wind-up clock I threw in the basement yesterday rang. No one got up, obviously. They are used to sleeping until noon. I went down to the kitchen. I took a pot lid and an aluminum ladle. I went down to the basement and started banging. Clang, clang, clang. "Up, you lazy bums!" I shouted like a real foreman. "The sun is already burning your asses." Michael and Sarah jumped off the cots, disoriented and with hair standing up. Seeing them like that, no one would think they are the trust fund kids who spent their time in 5-star resorts. The first day of work started out being hell. I sent Michael to the garden. That garden that was his mother's pride was now a battlefield, with weeds up to the knees and a huge hole full of stones. I gave him a dull sickle and some cheap cloth gloves. Cut the grass by hand. The mower does not work. Actually, I hid the spark plug. At noon, the sun fell like lead. Michael, used to the office air conditioning, had his shirt soaked in sweat and his face red as a lobster. His hands were blistered and the popped blisters burned. "My back hurts," he moaned, throwing down the sickle. I was sitting in a wicker chair on the porch, drinking a lemonade with ice, watching him from behind my dark glasses. "It hurts. When your father carried 50-pound bags of cement to the 4th floor, do you think he complained about pain? Pick it up. Keep going." Meanwhile, Sarah inside was not doing any better. Her task was to wash the 4 bathrooms of the mansion bathrooms that had been abandoned for months, with yellow scale and smelling horrible. Accidentally, on purpose, I forgot to buy her rubber gloves. "Oh, how gross," Sarah's scream came from the downstairs bathroom. "Dad, boss, I broke a nail." "They cost me $100. I went in and saw her holding the brush with 2 fingers, making faces of disgust. "Fake nails break, but real ones grow back," I said coldly. "And scrub hard. I still see stains in the corner of the toilet. Your mother left the bathroom so clean you could see your reflection in them." Was Mom a maid? Sarah sobbed, with cheap mascara running down her cheeks. Your mother was the lady of this house, but she was not afraid to get her hands dirty to keep her home clean. You only know how to dirty it. At nightfall, the two dragged themselves to the kitchen. They no longer had strength to fight or complain about the food. Sarah looked at her hands, once perfect, now scraped and smelling of bleach. Michael threw himself on the cold floor, panting like an ox. I hate this, Michael whispered. Me too, Sarah responded with a hoarse voice. But they ate. They devoured the plate of rice and beans they despised yesterday. Hunger is the best seasoning in the world. Watching them eat from the darkness of the stairs, my heart squeezed. Did it hurt? Of course. They are my children. But I had to grit my teeth and turn away. Hold on, children. Dad is polishing the rough diamond. A week passed. Fatigue had accumulated to the limit, and Michael's patience ran out. He is a cunning guy like me when I was young, but he uses his head for what he should not. He started calculating. Working for his dad, when was he going to finish paying? He needed a shortcut. Saturday night. I pretended to go to sleep early, but actually I was in the monitoring room. I saw Michael walk on tiptoes toward the living room. He looked everywhere and opened the display cabinet. There was the pure silver cutlery, the dowry his grandmother left. Valuable antiques. Trembling, he put several silver spoons in his pants pocket. He planned to run away. Selling that silver would give him enough for a bus ticket and to live a few months. I waited for him to reach the back door. When his hand touched the knob, I turned on the garden lights. Click! The floodlight hit him right in the face, making him squint and jump with fright. I was there, leaning on the old oak tree with a half-smoked cigar. Where are you going at this hour, son? My voice sounded strangely calm. Michael froze. He backed up, covering the bulging pocket by instinct. I went out for a walk. It is hot. A walk with your grandmother's silver in your pants. Michael turned white. He knew he was finished. He fell to his knees. Dad, forgive me. I cannot take it anymore. I owe money to dangerous people outside. I am scared. I walked closer. Instead of slapping him like I thought, I sighed and took a $50 bill and a bus ticket to the border out of my pocket. Here. Michael looked up confused. What? What is this? You want to go right? Go. Take those spoons and sell them. Plus these $50. It is enough for you to disappear from here. Are you kicking me out? I am freeing you. I looked him straight in the eyes with the look of a tired father. You can cross that door. I am not going to call the police. But listen well, Michael. If you leave, you can never come back. Out there is no hot food, no roof, and no father to receive you for a second time. Michael took the bill, trembling. He looked at the half-open gate. The darkness outside was black and cold. Sirens could be heard in the distance. He looked at the house. Although now it was a prison, it was safe. Sarah was here. His dad was here. There was punishment, but also protection. Outside was the abyss, and most importantly, he saw the disappointment in my eyes. It was not anger, it was a deep sadness. That hurt him more than any blow. Michael slowly took out the silver spoons and put them gently on the stone garden table. No, I am not going, he murmured. Why, I asked. Because I am hungry. Tomorrow there are beans. He invented a clumsy excuse. I smiled sideways, hiding my relief. Then go to sleep. Tomorrow you get up early to water. And Michael, next time you want to steal, pick something lighter. The silver is too heavy. Your pants are falling down. He went to the house, head down. I watched his skinny back walking away. The boy chose to stay. He chose to face difficulty instead of running away. That was the first step of maturity. 1 month later, the atmosphere in the house had changed. It was still heavy, but there was no longer that aggressive hostility. It felt like a construction site where everyone is tired, but focused on the work. The garden was starting to look orderly. The new rose bushes were already planted under my strict supervision. The floors shined. That night it was drizzling. Weather that brought memories. I allowed the employees to eat at the same table as the boss, even if it was a simple vegetable soup. They ate in silence. I noticed the way Sarah held the spoon was different. She no longer held it with exaggerated delicacy. She held it firmly. "Let me see those hands," I said suddenly. Sarah jumped and hid her hand. "They are horrible. My skin is peeling. The cream does not work." "Show me," I ordered. Timidly, she extended her palms. Calluses were starting to form at the base of the fingers. The skin was rough nails, short and clean. I turned to Michael. His hands also had small scars, from rose thorns and calluses from the hoe. I put my old hand rough as tree bark on the table next to theirs. 3 pairs of hands, different sizes, but now of the same material. "Look," I said softly, "this is not ugliness. These are metals." The two looked at me, not understanding. "These calluses," I touched. "Michael's palm protect the flesh inside so it does not get hurt with hard work." Life is the same, children. If you have a soul that is too soft, too spoiled, life hits you and destroys you. You have to have calluses. You have to have scars. Only then can you grab your own destiny. Michael looked at his hand, thoughtful. He closed his fist and opened it. The pain and burning had disappeared, replaced by firmness. "Dad," Sarah spoke with a broken voice, "before, when you built houses for people, did your hands hurt like this?" "Much more." I smiled, staring into space. "Back then, there were no safety gloves. The lime ate your skin to the bone. But every time it hurt, I thought about buying you a new dress or paying Michael's tuition, and the pain went away. The atmosphere softened. For the first time in years, I saw in their eyes that they were not looking at an ATM, but at a flesh and blood father." "Sorry," Sarah whispered, letting a tear fall into the soup. "Sorry for telling you that you smelled bad." "Okay, okay." I waved my hand, hiding my emotion. "Eat before it gets cold. Tomorrow we have to paint the fence. Do not think that because you cry, I'm going to lower the workload." Dinner continued, but the soup that night tasted sweeter than ever. But human beings change easily with pain and forget easily when they see benefit. I needed one final test, a test to see if the human part in them had defeated the animal part. I planned my best performance. Noon on Wednesday. Michael was cleaning windows and Sarah was hanging laundry. I purposely left the door of the safe in my office ajar. Inside were stacks of bills, about $25,000, and my gold Rolex watch. On the desk, my new phone. I went out to the living room, clutched my chest, and collapsed on the floor. Boom! I knocked over a vase on purpose to make noise. I lay there, eyes rolled back, foaming at the mouth, thanks to an effervescent pill I popped, convulsing slightly. "Dad," Sarah screamed, horrified, and ran first. Michael dropped the rag and came running. "My God, what is wrong?" Sarah knelt pale, shaking me. I opened my eyes halfway, exhaling hard, and pointed weakly toward the office. "Pills, pills, in the safe." Michael shot toward the office. I held my breath, watching out of the corner of my eye. It was the moment of truth. The safe open. Money. The watch. And no cameras recording there. If he took the money and let me die, or pretend to die, he would have everything and no one would know. 30 seconds passed. 30 eternal seconds. Sarah was crying, giving me heart massage with terrible technique, but with effort. "Michael, quick. He is dying." Michael came out of the room. In his hand, he did not have money. He had the bottle of fake pills I left next to the bills. "Here they are. Take them, Dad." He was trembling, trying to put the pill in my mouth, but I did not stop. I faked a stronger convulsion and went still. "He is not breathing," Sarah shouted in panic. "Call an ambulance, Michael." "The phone. Where's the phone?" Michael searched desperately. The phone was on the desk next to the safe. But instead of going for it, Michael, that useless junior, did something that left me frozen. He lifted me by the armpits. "Help me, Sarah," he shouted. "The ambulance will take too long. We have to take him to the hospital now." He carried me. My skinny weakling son was carrying his 180-pound father on his back. He gritted his teeth, red from effort with neck veins bulging. "Hang on, Dad. Do not die. Do not die. Please forgive me." He ran with me toward the car. Sarah opened the door. They forgot the money. They forgot the open safe with a fortune inside. They only wanted to save this old man. When Michael laid me in the back seat, his sweat dripped on my face, mixing with his tears. "Forgive me, Dad. I am a piece of crap. Wake up, please." In that moment, I knew I had won. It was not a victory of revenge, but a victory of a father's love. I had recovered my children from the devil's claws. I opened my eyes softly, coughed a little, and took Michael's trembling hand. "Relax, son," I said with a normal voice, no longer in agony. It passed. The two stood stunned. I sat up. I wiped the foam from my mouth and smiled. The most genuine smile since I came back. "Damn, you are stronger than I thought, Michael. You carried this old pig." Michael and Sarah looked at each other and then at me. Confusion turned to comprehension, and finally to tears. They threw themselves on me, crying like children in the middle of the yard. The test was over. My family, although broken, was starting to heal. I leaned back in the old leather armchair in the living room, looking at the high ceiling with squinted eyes. The house was quiet. A very different quiet from the deathly stillness of the nursing home, the forgotten place. Here the silence smelled of life moving. After my almost fatal heart attack, I announced that the doctor demanded absolute rest. "My heart is very weak," I complained, holding my hand to my chest every time I saw Michael wanting to slack off or Sarah about to protest. And so the world order in this house inverted completely. Without whips or screams, the kids started running the house themselves clumsily, but with effort. This morning, the smell of burning from the first days disappeared. In its place, a soft aroma of chicken broth floated from the kitchen. Michael entered the living room with a wooden tray. He walked carefully like he was walking on eggs. Boss lunch time. I opened one eye, a steaming bowl of broth. Next to it, cut lemons and some hot bread wrapped in an embroidered napkin. "Did you make it?" I asked, feigning weakness. "Yes." Michael scratched his head, embarrassed. "I went to the market early. The chicken lady taught me how to pick the freshest breast. She even scolded me. She said a man who does not know how to pick cilantro is useless." I tasted a spoonful. The sweet taste of the bone, the acid of the lemon. It was not perfect like Helen's, but it tasted better than any luxury restaurant dish. Because in this broth, I tasted my son's sweat. "Not bad," I murmured, hiding a smile. "At least I'm not going to get food poisoning like the day before yesterday." Michael sighed, relieved, and sat on the bench next to me. He watched me eat with strange attention. "Eat, Dad, so you recover strength. The doctor said you need protein." In the afternoon, the golden sun of the city came through the window. My beard was already grown out. It itched. I was going to grab the razor, but Michael was faster. I will do it. Your hand shakes. You're going to cut yourself." He brought hot water, a towel, and my classic shaving kit. He whipped the foam in the bowl. The sound of the brush was relaxing. Then he put the white foam on my chin softly, as if I were a bomb about to explode. I stayed still, feeling his breathing close. How long had it been since we were this close? 10 years? 20, the last time, was when I taught him to ride a bike and he scraped his knee. Michael took the razor. His hand trembled a little. "Do not shake, damn it," I whispered. "If you cut me, you do not inherit a dime." He let out a nervous little laugh and started shaving. "Scrape, scrape, Dad," he said without looking away from the razor. That day it was raining at the nursing home. My heart stopped for a second. I closed my eyes. "What?" "When I let you out of the car, I did not dare look in the rearview mirror." His voice broke, stopping the hand on my cheek. "I knew you were crying, but I was afraid that if I saw you cry, I was going to go back. And in that moment, my greed was very big. I owed money. I wanted to show off. Sorry, I am a piece of crap, Dad. An ungrateful piece of crap son." I felt a hot drop fall on my forehead. It was not water from the towel. It was a tear of his. I opened my eyes and looked at that 40-year-old man who was barely starting to be an adult. "Yes, you were a piece of crap, Michael. I do not deny it." He lowered his head, trembling. But I took his wrist with my old hand. That piece of crap seems to have died already. Now I only see a gardener trying to shave his father without making him bleed. And this gardener, I like him better. Michael looked up, eyes full of water but smiling. He wiped his nose with his arm. Thanks, Dad. I am going to leave you clean. Do not worry. In the door, I saw Sarah's shadow leaning, holding the mop, drying her tears secretly. That night, listening to the crickets in the garden Michael had cleaned, I asked myself, is it real repentance or just fear that I will die? Or are they still acting, waiting for the inheritance? Trust, once broken, is like a ceramic plate. No matter how much you glue it, you see the cracks. I needed a final blow to test the strength of that plate. A week of fake peace passed. I felt strong, I always was, but I kept up the role. However, I knew I could not drag out the game forever. It was time for the ending. Saturday morning, I got up, stretched, and announced, I am fine now. Michael and Sarah looked at me between happy and worried. Seriously, Dad? Sarah asked. Seriously. And since I am fine, I need to settle some matters. My gaze sharpened, losing the sweetness of the sick old man. Tomorrow, Sunday, Lawyer Miller is coming. The two looked at each other. The word lawyer gave them a jolt. I saw in Michael's eyes that gleam of greedy hope, the same one I saw when I won the lottery. Sarah bit her lip. What is Miller coming for? Michael asked, trying to sound casual, but it came out high-pitched. To read the new will and decide on the assets. I answered dryly and went to my room. Shower. Tomorrow put on your best clothes. I do not want you to embarrass me with visitors. All day the tension in the house could be cut with a knife. Michael did not go out to the garden any more. He walked back and forth calculating. Sarah ironed her old dress, humming. What were they thinking? Surely dreaming. Dreaming about the millions. Dreaming about leaving the shovel and broom. Dreaming about Paris and Porsches. Poor fools. Do you think a few chicken broths and some rose bushes are enough to buy your ticket to the life of King Sunday? 10 in the morning. Miller entered punctual as a Swiss watch. Gray suit, crocodile skin briefcase. Serious as a judge, just as I asked. Michael and Sarah were already sitting at the long table. Michael with his only clean white shirt combed. Sarah with a simple black dress. They looked decent, but I smelled their fear and their ambition. Good morning, Miller greeted coldly. I sat at the head with a white silk shirt and an unlit cigar. Get to the point, Miller. My children are impatient. Miller opened the briefcase and took out a thick folder with red seals. The sound of paper resonated like thunder in the silence. Mr. Robert Michael Sarah. Miller cleared his throat. At the request of my client today, the reading of the new will and the asset management plan of the family will take place. Michael swallowed loudly. Sarah squeezed his hand under the table. Robert. Miller started with a monotone voice. In full use of my mental faculties, declare null all previous wills. Their hearts were jumping out of their chests. I observed every micro-expression. Nervous tics, dilated pupils. Considering that my children Michael and Sarah have shown a change of attitude and conduct in the last 2 months, Miller paused and looked at me. I nodded slightly. The two leaned forward. Here it comes. The moment of truth. The reward. Surely Dad shares the money, even half $2 million. Or the house. I have decided to cede total control operation and use of the estate, which includes the house in the suburbs and the existing cash. Michael almost jumped out of the chair. His eyes shone like headlights. Sarah covered her mouth, crying with happiness. We won. We are free, I read on her forehead. But before they smiled completely, Miller turned the page. Wait. I raised my hand with a voice of ice. Read the binding conditions section loud. Miller, so it is heard clearly. Miller adjusted his glasses. His voice hardened. However, the ownership of this house and the entirety of the $5 million will not be distributed to any individual as personal wealth. Michael's smile went out like someone threw boiling water on it. Sarah turned to stone. All this wealth will be transferred immediately to a trust called the Helen Foundation. This house, starting next month, will be remodeled to become a private and free nursing home for elderly people without homes and abandoned by their children. Boom. What the hell? Michael stood up, knocking over the chair. Nursing home. Are you crazy? Is this a joke? This is our house. Sit down. I hit the table, making the ashtray jump. House of ours. Do you dare say that? Michael? I got up and walked around the table, my steps resonating with authority. 2 months ago, you said, this house is a gold mine and you are just in the way. Remember? Michael turned pale. But we changed. We worked. You said you forgave us. I forgave your person, but I am not stupid enough to feed your greed again. I got close to his face. I tasted what it is to be discarded in oblivion. That cold, that smell of urine. I swore to the memory of your mother that I would use my money so no old person suffers that. This house was a nest. Now it will be a refuge. Sarah broke down crying on the table. And what about us, Dad? We scrubbed toilets, dug dirt, ate beans for 2 months. Do you recognize our effort just to leave us on the street? You are cruel. Cruel! I laughed. Cruel or just, I paid all your debts. $250,000. You are free. You do not owe anyone. Is that not enough? But what do we live on? Michael shouted. Do we beg? No. I denied, returning to my chair and lighting the cigar. I do not abandon my children. I am not like you were. I signaled Miller. He took out 2 thinner folders. What is this? Michael asked. Employment contracts. Miller explained. According to the statutes of the Helen Foundation, Michael will be named Director of Operations of the nursing home. Tasks: maintenance, services, garden, warehouse. He turned to Sarah. And Sarah will be Manager of Care and Logistics. Tasks: supervise meals, cleaning activities. You mean, Sarah looked up, we will be employees here, work for this nursing home. Exactly, I said firmly, and it is a paid job. Good salary, $3,000 a month each, plus health insurance, plus annual bonus, if you do it well. They looked stunned. That money is enough to live well. Rent a decent apartment, a normal car. But, I emphasized, it is not enough for Gucci bags, nor for Dubai. And surely not enough for partying. Are you going to work? For real. Take care of unknown old people like I was taken care of. And remember this, I pointed to Michael. The contract has a special termination clause. If I or the board detect that you steal a penny or mistreat an old person, you go to the street without severance. Understood. Deadly silence. The millionaire dream broke. Reality remained. Work to live. But this time dignified and safe work. Michael dropped his arms. He looked out the window toward the garden he himself had revived with his sweat. The roses had new buds. He was fighting with himself. Greed was dying kicking, but his reason spoke. What is out there? Debts. Danger sleeping under a bridge. Here Mom's house. Stable job. Respect if he complies. And most importantly, Dad. Sarah wiped her tears and read the contract. She is more practical. 3,000 clear, she murmured. It is more than the hotel manager made where they did not accept me. She looked at me. There was no longer resentment, but resignation and gratitude. Dad, if I sign, are you never going to kick us out? Are you not going to throw me on the street? As long as you comply, this house will always be your place, I affirmed. I built the home not only for strangers, but so this house is preserved, and you have a place to be decent people. Michael sat down slowly. He looked at me with a mix of feelings, sadness for the lost dream and relief for finding a harbor. You know, Dad, he laughed sadly. These 2 months watering the garden early, I felt a weird peace. I did not worry about collection calls anymore. I slept better than on my expensive mattress. He took Miller's Mont Blanc pen. Maybe I am better as a gardener than an engineer. Scratch, scratch. Michael's signature was captured, firm, strong. Sarah sighed, letting go of a heavy load, and signed too. Done. Miller closed the briefcase. The click sounded like a sealed destiny. Congratulations to the new directors of the Helen Nursing Home. Tomorrow the architect comes. Get ready to work. I looked at my children. They did not become millionaires overnight. They are still employees, but I saved them. I tied them to responsibility and mandatory love. That is the best legacy. Now get up and take off those Sunday clothes. I clapped. It is hot. Go to the kitchen. Today I am treating for the celebration. What are we going to eat? Beans again. Sarah made a face. No. Today is special. There is beef stew, your grandmother's recipe, and whiskey, lots of whiskey. That night the kitchen smelled like glory, like stew, the soul of home. Beef, carrots, potatoes. We sat at the small round table, not at the long cold one. Miller had already left. Just us three. Michael served the stew. Pass me the bread, Sarah. Do not be cheap. Cut it yourself. My eyes are burning, Sarah grumbled. But she served him a heaping spoonful. I watched the scene, taking a sip of iced whiskey. The alcohol burned nicely, but my chest was warm. Cheers, Dad. Michael raised his beer with red eyes. Thanks for not abandoning us, even though you are a grumpy dictator and manipulative old man. Cheers, you old fox. Sarah laughed, clinking her glass. I still miss the 5 million, but oh well, with $3,000 a month, I won't starve. I smiled and raised my glass. Cheers, my children. Remember the taste of this stew. It is made with honest money. It does not sit heavy on the stomach. Dinner was laughter and talk. For the first time, we talked about the future without traps. Michael talked about planting hydrangeas for the grandparents. Sarah thought about soft sheets. When we finished, they fought over washing the dishes. I stayed alone at the table watching them at the sink. I put my hand in the inside pocket of my shirt. I touched the stiff paper in my wallet. No one knows this, not even Miller. That day at the lottery stand with my old man tricks, I did not buy one ticket. I bought two, the pair. The first one I used to recover the house and educate them. But the second one I took out discreetly under the table. The second winning ticket for the jackpot, another $5 million, was still intact. I already commissioned a trust in Panama to cash it and keep it in Switzerland. It is generating interest. I looked at my children splashing water. Give them this now. No way. They would spoil. Human nature is weak. They need to work. But this money will be my freedom insurance. Or maybe one day I will get tired of watching them run the nursing home, pack my bags, and go around the world. I will hire a pretty Brazilian nurse to push my wheelchair in Copacabana. Why not? Robert has suffered enough. He deserves a little secret. I put away the receipt, patting my heart, which beat strong and happy. What are you thinking? Dad Michael asked, seeing me smile alone. I looked at them, blowing smoke at the ceiling. I was thinking. I got up, cracking my back, that finally I have real children. It cost me $5 million and a house to buy them a personality. It was damn expensive. I looked at the clean dishes shining. But at least these bastards already know how to wash their own plate. And who knows, when I die, I might leave them another surprise. But it is a long time before I die, you rascals. I laughed loud and turned off the light, leaving them in the soft shadow of the hallway. Outside it was raining again. But tonight, and the ones that follow, Robert will sleep peacefully without nightmares. If this story has captivated you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click on the box on the left of the screen. Thanks for watching.